Good morning, everybody. Hopefully, everybody can hear me and things are well. I need lotion. Good morning, Carmen. How are you? Good morning, Grammy. Good morning, Katrina. Good to see everybody. How are you guys doing? I feel like I have whiplash from the damn news today. Hey, Tori. What's up, Rima? Yeah, it's my first one. I told Abu Siraj I got one the other day and finally got it. And so my niece sucks, Blue Honey Pot. Good morning, Amy. Thank you very much. Good morning, Pamela Jones. Good to see you over there on YouTube. Thank you very much. I appreciate it, Rima. What's up, Colleen? Hey, Conchita. Hello, Allie Nicole. I appreciate it, Blue Honey Pot. It just kind of is what it is, right? What's up, Lenny? Hello, Mr. Just Chillin'. Hey, Mary Shaw. Folks, if you are joining me on Substack, on YouTube, or on Facebook, please make sure that you say hello, because I don't get to see when you join unless you speak to me, right? So I can see when TikTokers join, so I say hi to them automatically, but I don't get to see you. Good morning, Brandy. Thanks, Conchita. Appreciate it. Hey, Winn-Dixie. What's up, Eric? Good to see you. Hey, Marky. Life keeps life in. Whatever, man. Like, I'm just rolling with the punches at this stage of the game. I did want to let everybody know that there is another podcast episode that is up and launched today. So a new episode went up on Saturday and another episode went up today. So if you have not gotten caught up on your podcast episodes, yeah, you know what, Amy, I have heard it said that Nominal is either Palestinian, like it's Palestine owned, or it's Palestinian inspired, and I'm not sure which is true. So I haven't done anything from there. Appreciate it, Lenny. Hey, good morning. See, what's up, Dirty Bad Bloggers? So yeah, so I'm gonna get all the way through everything today. I'm gonna try to keep my ADHD under control and focused and not get distracted. Hey, Doug. And I do want to get into the Brett Kavanaugh confirmation, and there's a reason why I really want to get through that. So somebody tagged me in it yesterday on Facebook, and so we are going to talk about it. Moderators, let me just go ahead and tell you this. I am aware that because I have Kamala Harris up here and I'm wearing a keffiyeh, we might get a lot of shit in the comments today. What I'm going to do is let everybody kind of know ahead of time. I'm going to invite people to the panel. If they don't want to come to the panel, then, go ahead and do what you got to do with the trolls. Thanks, Pamela. I appreciate that. So it just kind of is what it is. People think that this is like a conundrum, and it's not, but I want to talk about it, and we're going to talk about it respectfully. If people want to talk about it respectfully, then they are welcome to join me in doing so. If they come at me sideways, they might get cussed the fuck out today. And that's exactly what I mean. So good morning, Mama CF. Good morning, Sandy. Good morning, coolest mom ever. Just so that everyone is clear, I don't need anyone's permission to feel the way I feel or have the opinions that I have. My opinions are based on fact. Thanks, Cam. My opinions are based on fact. My opinions are based on they are rooted in reality and focused on hope for what we can do to be better. You don't have to agree with me on them. I'm not asking for any of it. And so I'm just here to tell you, yeah, do not feed the trolls, please. Don't do that. So let me help you, real estate diva. Let me help you. I said my opinions are based on facts. See that? They're two separate words, right? But when an opinion is fact-based, when you formulate your opinion based on fact, then that carries more weight than just your random ass opinion based on how you feel. See, opinions that are rooted in fact and based on fact for the conclusion that you come to, those opinions are more valid, carry more weight, deserve respect, rather than opinion that is based only on your fucking feelings. So if your opinion is based on your feelings and my opinion is based on fact, you can miss me with your feelings and your opinion, because I don't care about either. Just so we're clear. You can have your opinion. See, your opinion is based on how you feel. So like I am very intelligent, and the kafia represents kafia. It represents solidarity with Palestine. Now, if you would like to discuss the kafia, and if you would like to discuss Israel and Palestine, then feel free to request to come up on the panel. And we can do that. We can have a conversation. So that you are invited to do that right now in this moment. You can be the first person to hit the panel. Give me 1 second and I'll make it available for you. You ready? There you go. So, matter of fact, I'll even help you, and I will send you a direct invitation in case you don't see the request button. Nope, see, you have it set to where I can't send you an invitation. Hopefully you will join the panel. Yeah, so again, this is where it goes, folks. I am going to tell you, right, Linda? I am going to tell you my opinion. I'm going to tell you what my opinion is based on, what it is rooted on. I'm going to give you the actual documents and evidence on which my opinion is based. And you can do with that what you wish. If you wish to do nothing with it, then all you got to do is take your finger, put it on the screen, and swoop the fuck on out of here. Salam. Good morning, Rebel. Good morning, the Lion Lady. Good morning. Like, those are the choices. That's what you get to do. It's not that hard. The guest box should be showing up. Oh, absolutely not. I would never do that. Give me a second, folks. Yeah, so no, I've got the panel. It's there. It's not. Thanks, Rebel. I appreciate it. I told Abu Saraj that I got one. Yeah, I don't know why there's no box, but the little people are at the bottom, right? Because they should be. You got it? Okay, perfect. Love that. All right. So I'm actually going to start today's live talking about any get a Zoom if you can't tolerate other people's opinions. Here, let me show you how much I can tolerate opinions. I just sent you a request to come up to the panel. Yashua Keefe, I just sent you a request to come to the panel so that I can hear your opinion. I just sent you a request. I can tolerate your opinion. Come give it to me on the panel. I got it, Carrie. I can tolerate other people's opinions. You have not been on my panel. No, you have not. Stop lying. It ain't even noon today. Stop lying. You have not been on my panel. I'm just going to tell you right now, stop lying. So you are welcome to join my panel. I see you still yapping in the damn chat, but you're not on the panel, are you? Where are you? That's what I thought. I don't tolerate other people's opinions, but you in the chat just yapping. Well, okay, then leave my live. That's what you can do. That's what I thought. I can't stand mediocre people. Mediocre, lying ass people. That's what I don't like. That would be you, Yeshua. So again, yeah, I'm giving no fucks. I got a Zoom. Get your ass in somebody else's live. Do that. How about that? No, Cam. And listen, here's my thing. When somebody like that just chips down in the comments, I'm not interested at all. So bless. Right, Bangs. Zoom your way up out of here. Good morning, Tootie. Good to see you. Good morning, everybody. All right, so I want to talk about something that I think is important. So number one, at the end of this month, Kamala Harris's book is going to come out. It's 107 days. How many of you guys have heard? Oh, thanks, Rebel. I appreciate that. I've got some more that I need to put up. Good morning, Miss Lady. How many of you guys have heard about her book that is coming out on the 23rd? Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about this book. Facebook, Substack, YouTube. Because there are people that are misquoting this book, and I think it's really important for people to know exactly what she did and what she did not say in the book. Okay, so she did not call Joe Biden's re-election campaign reckless. That's not what she said. What she said is that leaving the decision up to one individual by the Democratic Party, right, was reckless. That's what she said. And I think it's very important for people to be able to distinguish between those two things and why they are different, because they are very different things. To be able to say that leaving the decision, like for the Democratic Party as a whole, to leave the decision solely up to Joe Biden was reckless, that's a fair point, right? That's a fair point. And I think it's really important for people to be able to just don't engage with beef, Keith, whatever their name is. Don't engage with them. Just leave them in there and let them boost the algorithm. Let them keep running their damn mouth. Yoshi. No, I won't even put that on Yoshi. Yoshi is cute. I like Yoshi. Don't put that on Yoshi. I like Yoshi. We will take an algorithm booth. Just let them yap in them comments. Go ahead. All right. So what is important for her is, so I'm excited to get this because we're going to get a glimpse at things that she saw, that she experienced behind the scenes. And I'm actually grateful that she's doing it when she's not reelected. You know what I mean? When she's not running a campaign, when it's not something that is happening, she's not running to be the governor of California. And I think it's important because it gives her a certain amount of freedom to say what she wants to say, how she wants to say it, without worrying about what anybody happens to think about what she says, right? So I'm excited about that. I also want to hear the rest of it. Vic, I don't know. I'm not even concerned about who I want to run for president in 2028. The thing that I'm most focused on right now is taking back Congress on the side of the progressives and the liberals, right? That's the most important thing that we need to be focused on in 2026. 2028 is just too far away. That's just kind of my thought process. Do me a favor, folks, ignore the trolls, please. And just let's stay engaged in the conversation and the facts. Okay. So first, what I want to talk about is what she says about what she says in this book and the snippets that have come out. And one of the things that's important is that, so Simon & Schuster is who published her book. And while they wouldn't say specifics about things, what they did say is that one of the things that they did say is that she touches on and she covers everything that we would want to know from her. So I take that as a really good sign. And of course, the closer we get to the book coming out, the more information that we're getting from the book. So I'm going to share, there's a great article in the AP and in the Atlantic today that is an excerpt of what she says from her book. Got it? Hold on a second. Coro, you can look up who the members of Congress are and all of that. The 23rd of this month, Mel Gray. All right, so and just as a funny side note, Elon Musk is no longer the richest man in the world. Apparently some AI tech got that title, which to me just means there's just another human being that has no that has even less morals than Elon. Okay, so I'm going to give you, this is from The Atlantic. It's The Constant Battle. It's the first excerpt from 107 Days, which is Kamala Harris's book that is going to come out on the 23rd of this month. And I'm going to give you the editor's note first, and then I'm going to give you the rest. So, and by the way, can I tell you who it is that wrote it? It's Jeffrey Goldberg. So does anybody remember that name, Jeffrey Goldberg? Does anybody remember who that is and why we should all know that name? Why do we remember Jeffrey Goldberg? Signal. Yes, he is the journalist that Pete Hegseth and those guys were texting with. Yeah, Signal. Jeffrey Goldberg. He's the editor from The Atlantic. That's where you should know that name. And so he put an editor's note at the top, and here's what it says. The biggest surprise in Kamala Harris's forthcoming account of her rough and ready, intense, and absurdly condensed campaign for president, 107 days, may be that it is filled with surprises. I read it last week, expecting lawyerly calibration and discretion. This careful Harris is present, but so too is another Harris, blunt, knowing, fervent, occasionally profane, slyly funny. As you will see in the following excerpt and throughout this newsworthy book, she no longer seems particularly interested in holding back. 107 Days begins with the events of July 21st, 2024, the very late date on which Joe Biden told his vice president and the world that he would exit the presidential race. The chapter below details the events of July 24th, as well as some of Harris's acute observations about the absurdity and the unprecedented nature of that political moment. 107 Days will be released by Simon & Schuster on September 23rd. Salamun, thank you. And that editor's note was written by Jeffrey Goldberg. Okay. So let me go ahead and read it to you. Yeah, me too, Pamela. Me too, Pamela. Give me 1 second. Thank you, Sandy. Yeah, Iron Lady, I'm excited to read it as well. Do you know the best part of Kamala Harris? Guess what she is? Thanks. Are you? Oh, Jerry, let me ask you a question, Jerry McLaughlin, because it sounded like you were trying to make a racial joke. And I just want to ask for clarity because I'm sure that would not be your intent. I'm sure that you wouldn't be coming into a TikTok live space with, a few hundred people in it and being racist. So I just want to give you the opportunity to clarify if that's what you meant. Were you coming into this room to let everybody know that you're a racist and you like to make racist jokes about the former vice president? Because I'm sure that no respectful, grown person would want to do that in this day and age, right? It's not like 1950 anymore. Most people have grown out of that. Most people have learned tolerance. Most people have learned that race is a social construct. Most people have learned that. Jerry? Okay, just checking, Jerry. It sounded like you were trying to be a racist, and I just wanted to make sure that that's not what you were doing. Okay. All right, so I'm going to carry on with the excerpt from the book. Are you ready? Right, Melinda, they always go quiet. Right? All right. Here's the excerpt from Kamala Harris's book, 107 Days, that comes out on September the 23rd. You ready? The first stop on the day's calendar had been planned months earlier. At a meeting in the Oval Office discussing her work uplifting Black executives and entrepreneurs, Dr. Stacy N.C. Grant had invited me to address the annual gathering, the Grand Boule of her sorority Zeta Phi Beta. Now, I was in Indianapolis looking out over a convention center packed with 6,000 powerful women in dark blue dresses and white jackets. I'm a member of a different sorority, Alpha Kappa Alpha, the first Black women's Greek letter organization founded at Howard University in 1908. But these women are my sisters too. We're all part of the Divine Nine, the Greek organizations founded when segregation was law in the South and standard practice in the North. W.E. Du Bois and Thurgood Marshall, Du Bois, however you say it, for those of you guys who have a different pronunciation, and Thurgood Marshall were early members of the first Black fraternity, Alpha Phi Alpha, founded at Cornell University in 1906. The Divine Nine has been an engine of uplift for generations of Black college men and women, instilling a love and celebration of excellence, philanthropy, and service to all mankind. My Divine Nine family would show up for me throughout the campaign. That day, I was so pleased to see the young president of Theta Pi Sigma, Chris Ray, and the esteemed president of Delta Sigma Theta, Elsie Cook Holmes. Throughout my career, I've maintained that people in positions of power must be required to ask of themselves, who am I not hearing from? And then make it their business to seek those folks out. I came to the White House knowing that the people in that building needed to hear from a wider range of voices. As vice president, I'd been given several roles by Joe Biden. But one role I created for myself was building up the diverse coalition that our party encompassed. Give me 1 second, folks. All right. I made it my business to get out there and make sure that no community was overlooked, especially those that had been taken for granted in the past. Black women, the Democrats' staunchest, most reliable voting bloc, was one such community. The Boule in Indianapolis was one of a dozen Divine Nine gatherings I had addressed since taking office. On this day, there was a new energy in the room as I walked onto the stage. A Black woman was slated to be the Democratic nominee for president. It was us. And everyone there understood what it meant, that this would be a journey of both joy and pain. I was in a room full of people with whom, because of our shared experience, certain words did not need to be said. There is an emotion that comes from being in a place where people see you, support you, know you. The kindness and the love in that room penetrated the armor I usually wore, armor I'd need to put back on as soon as I left that room. The biggest applause came when I started to say what I would do to restore the rights of Roe v. Wade. Quote, when I am president, and a roar erupted that drowned out the rest of that sentence. That roar told me they could see it clearly for the first time. This could be, and it should be. It was not because of gender or because of race, but despite those things. I thought, as I often did, of Shirley Chisholm, and I know they did too. The first Black woman elected to the U.S. Congress and the first woman to run for our party's nomination. She had blazed the path, and now I was standing on it. From Indianapolis, we flew on to Houston to meet with emergency management staff and get a briefing on recovery efforts after the devastation of Hurricane Beryl. The Category 1 hurricane's eye wall had slammed Houston, bringing down power lines and leaving vulnerable people without air conditioning or water during triple-digit heat indexes. At least 20 souls had unalived. The economic damage in the billions was still being reckoned. These kinds of briefings are sadly familiar to me. As district attorney, I'd witnessed the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina. As senator, I'd been to Puerto Rico after Hurricane Maria, and I'd toured the communities in my home state that had been ravaged by wildfires. It was heartbreaking to see the scale of these losses and the exhausted faces of individuals standing in the ruins of a lifetime's work, a lifetime's dreams. It was infuriating to see how predators swarmed like cockroaches, price gouging, spreading misinformation. But it was also inspiring to talk to the first responders who ran toward danger, sometimes helping strangers even as their own homes were at risk. And then there were the regular people who stepped up to help in whatever way they could, collecting toiletries, making sandwiches, organizing clothing drives. In my life, I've seen over and over that it is often the people with the least who give the most. As I shook hands and thanked the police and emergency workers one by one, in each, I saw a hero. The kind of person who answered a calling with a sense of duty to the well-being of people they've never met. A reporter in the press pool shouted a question about Biden's upcoming speech. It was just after 5 p.m. in Houston, and the president would be addressing the nation from the Oval Office later that evening. I watched it at the hotel that night. It was a good speech, drawing on the history of the presidency to locate his own place within it. But as my staff later pointed out, it was almost 9 minutes into the 11-minute address before he mentioned me. Quote, "I want to thank our great Vice President, Kamala Harris. She is experienced, she's tough, she's capable, she's been an incredible partner to me and leader for our country," end quote. And that was it. I am a loyal person. During all those months of growing panic, should I have told Joe to consider not running? Perhaps, but the American people had chosen him before in the same matchup. Maybe he was right to believe that they would do so again. He was, by some measures, the most consistently underestimated man in Washington. He'd been right about his tactics for pushing his agenda through a resistant Congress. It was just possible he was right about this too. And of all the people in the White House, I was in the worst position to make the case that he should drop out. I knew it would come off to him as incredibly self-serving if I advised him not to run. He would see it as naked ambition, perhaps as poisonous disloyalty, even if my only message was, don't let the other guy win. Quote, "It's Joe and Jill's decision," end quote. We all said that like a mantra, as if we'd all been hypnotized. Was it grace or was it recklessness? In retrospect, I think it was recklessness. The stakes were simply too high. This wasn't a choice that should have been left to an individual's ego, an individual's ambition. It should have been more than a personal decision. Many people want to spin up a narrative of some big conspiracy at the White House to hide Joe Biden's infirmity. Here is the truth as I lived it. Joe Biden was a smart guy with long experience and deep conviction, able to discharge the duties of president. On his worst day, he was more deeply knowledgeable, more capable of exercising judgment, and far more compassionate than Donald Trump on his best. But at 81, Joe got tired. That's when his age showed in physical and verbal stumbles. I don't think it's any surprise that the debate debacle happened right after two back-to-back trips to Europe and a flight to the West Coast for a Hollywood fundraiser. I don't believe it was incapacity. If I believed that, I would have said so. As loyal as I am to President Biden, I am more loyal to my country. I was well aware of my delicate status. Lore has it that every outgoing chief of staff always tells the incoming president's chief of staff, rule number one, watch the VP. Because I'd gone after him over busing in the 2019 primary debate. I came into the White House with what we lawyers call a quote unquote rebuttal presumption. I had to prove my loyalty time and time again. When Fox News attacked me on everything from my laugh to my tone of voice, to whom I dated in my 20s, or claimed I was a quote unquote DEI hire, the White House rarely pushed back with my actual resume. 2 terms elected DA, top cop in the second largest Department of Justice in the United States, senator representing 1 in 8 Americans. Lorraine Voles, my chief of staff, constantly had to advocate for my role at events. Quote, she's not going to stand there like a potted plant. Give her 2 minutes of remarks, have her introduce the president, end quote. They had a huge comms teams. They had Karine Jean-Pierre briefing in the press room every day, but getting anything positive said about my work or any defense against untrue attacks was almost impossible. An example, in 2021, I was dispatched to the Elysee Palace to help reset our tattered relationship with France after we signed the Australia-UK-US Security Pact. Australia had agreed to buy submarines from France, but scrapped that contract when we and the UK agreed to supply Australia with big boom, boom, boom subs under the new AUKUS agreement instead. This had caused tremendous friction. Thank you, Abdul Saraj. In our meeting, Emmanuel Macron and I warmed the chill by focusing on our many areas of cooperation, such as space exploration, climate change, transatlantic security, cybersecurity, the Sahel, and the Indo-Pacific. On that trip, I was invited to visit the renowned Pasteur Institute, where my mother had worked on mRNA research related to breast cancer. I was speaking informally with the scientists there about how I wished politicians would more closely follow the scientific method. Testing a hypothesis and adjusting according to results, rather than coming in with the plan as if they had all the answers up front. I said, quote unquote, the plan with exaggerated emphasis and air quotes. How crazy. I did it exactly the way she said it. I said the plan with exaggerated emphasis and air quotes. Fox News, the New York Post, and Newsmax went wild, claiming I'd faked a French accent. This was total nonsense, but the White House seemed glad to let reporting about my gaffe overwhelm the significant thaw in foreign relations I'd achieved. Worse, I often learned that the president's staff was adding fuel to negative narratives that sprang up around me. One narrative that I took a stubborn hold was that I had a quote unquote chaotic office and unusually high staff turnover during my first year. The plain fact is many people who come to work with a new administration in the White House haven't done it before. It's a job unlike any other. And not every person, no matter how talented in their former position, can step up into such a high-stress, round-the-clock role. Others find that they just don't want a job that doesn't pay particularly well. takes a massive toll on family, and rules out anything resembling a normal life. I'm not going to keep good people on who can't thrive in their jobs. It's not fair to them, and it's not good for the country. So the first year in any White House, sees staff churn. Working for the first woman vice president, my staff had the additional challenge of confronting gendered stereotypes, a constant battle that would prove exhausting. I was the first vice president to have a dedicated press pool tracking my every public move. Before me, vice presidents had what's called a supplemental pool, as the First Lady does, covering important events. Because of this constant attention, things that had never been especially newsworthy about the vice president were suddenly reported and scrutinized. And when the stories were unfair or inaccurate, the president's inner circle seemed fine with it. Indeed, it seemed as if they decided I should be knocked down a little bit more. Quote, the VP should take on irregular migration, end quote. Good morning, everybody. I'm going to finish. From March 2021, my assignment was to attack the root causes of the misery that was driving people from their homes and villages in Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador. Because I'd prosecuted cartels and human traffickers from the Northern Triangle, I was up to speed on the region and its problems, and had ideas about the kinds of investments and other interventions that over time would reduce irregular migration, help to bring stability, and offer people a safer future in their own community. Most people don't want to leave home. They don't want to leave their grandmother, their church, their friends, their language. And when they do, it is usually for one of two reasons. They fear for their lives, or they can't make a living. Much of that region is rural, and farmers are increasingly hit by climate events such as floods and droughts. If you can no longer grow food where you are, and if there's no other livelihood, you will leave because there's simply no choice. Corruption and gangs thrive when there are limited resources. When Republicans mischaracterized my role as quote unquote border czar, no one in the White House comms teams helped me to effectively push back and explain what I had really been asked to do, nor to highlight any of the progress I had achieved. I won commitments of $5.2 billion in new investments by private companies for the region. I had already seen almost $1 billion of that money deployed, thanks to enthusiastic participants such as MasterCard, Microsoft, and Nespresso. I held numerous bilateral meetings with leaders throughout the region, especially with President Alejandro Giammattei in Guatemala, and later his successor, President Bernardo Averello. I had multiple calls with Giammattei warning him that I expected free and fair elections. I sent my national security advisor, Phil Gordon, to reinforce the message in person, and I publicly supported Averello once the election was called. This is the reason why Guatemala was able to uphold their election, by the way. I met with activist groups fighting against corruption and for human rights in El Salvador, Guatemala, and Honduras. Cabinet members pitched in. Tom Vilsack at the Department of Agriculture assessed resources to train farmers in the latest methods to increase yields. I worked closely with Mexico's President, Andrés Manuel López Obrador, and later his successor, President Claudia Sheinbaum, on our mutual border concerns. The investment I was bringing was a bargaining chip with regional governments to crack down on corrosive levels of corruption. These American companies, I told them, would not invest unless real steps were taken. The investments I encouraged have connected communities to the internet and brought people into the formal financial system, creating jobs and opportunity. In the locations where I was able to bring new enterprises and greater stability, data showed it was working. Our investments had created 70,000 new jobs, reached more than 1 million people with training programs, and connected 2.5 million previously unbanked people with banking services and access to credit. These people were staying put. I wanted to get that good news out. But White House staff stalled. Quote, "Not yet. We need more data," end quote. The story remained untold. Hold on, y'all. For those of y'all who are just tuning in, I am reading the first chapter of Kamala Harris's new book that is going to come out on the 23rd of this month. And it is absolutely an eye-opener, and I can't wait to get a copy, and then we can discuss. Appreciate you, Cam. But the White House staff stalled. Quote, "Not yet. We need more data," end quote. The story remained untold. Instead, I shouldered the blame for the porous border, an issue that had proved intractable for Democratic and Republican administrations alike. Even the breathtakingly cruelty of Trump's family separation policy hadn't deterred the desperate. It was an issue that absolutely demanded bipartisan cooperation at an impossibly partisan, most uncooperative time. Appreciate you, DJK. No one around the president advocated, give her something she can win with. Then the Dobbs decision came down. Here was a huge issue on which the president was not seeking to lead. Joe struggled to talk about reproductive rights in a way that met the gravity of the moment. He ceded that leadership to me. I initiated a national tour and rallied the outrage in red states and blue states alike, as well as big public events. I convened roundtables, starting out with 10 or 12 state legislators whom I would connect with resources in the Justice Department or Health and Human Services. Soon, advocates started attending, then healthcare providers, then families affected by restrictive laws. There would be hundreds of people at those meetings, building a national coalition. All this work upended the narrative that we were doomed to a shellacking in the midterms. We defied historical precedent because of our efforts on this issue. Since 1934, the president's party has lost an average of 28 House seats and 4 Senate seats in midterms elections. We lost just 9 seats in the House and retained control of the Senate. Joe was already polling badly on the age issue, with roughly 75% of voters saying he was too old to be an effective president. Then he started taking on water for his perceived blank check to Benjamin Netanyahu in Gaza. When polls indicated that I was getting more popular, the people around him didn't like the contrast that was emerging. In Selma, Alabama, at the commemoration of Bloody Sunday, when civil rights marchers were attacked and beaten once they'd crossed the Edmund Pettus Bridge, I gave a strong speech on the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. Desperate people had been shot when they swarmed a food truck, and I spoke of families reduced to eating leaves or animal feed, women prematurely giving birth with little or no medical care, and children dying from malnutrition and dehydration. I reiterated my strong support for Israel's security and called on Hamas to release the hostages and accept the ceasefire agreement then on the table. I also called on Israel for greater access to aid. It was a speech that had been vetted and approved by the White House and the National Security Council. It went viral, and the West Wing was displeased. I was castigated for apparently delivering it too well. Their thinking was zero sum. If she's shining, he's dimmed. None of them grasped that if I did well, he did well. That given the concerns about his age, my visible success as his president was vital. It would serve as a testament to his judgment in choosing me and reassurance that if something happened, the country was in good hands. My success was important for him. His team didn't get it. So that is an excerpt. That is the first chapter of Kamala Harris's new book, 107 Days, that is going to come out on September the 23rd. Let me tell you this. There's nothing about that I find surprising. There is nothing about that I find surprising. She was their scapegoat. And for those of you all who didn't catch that last part, any speech that she gave had to be vetted and approved by the White House and by the president. Debbie said, I just pre-ordered mine on Audible. I can't wait. I think that a lot of folks don't realize yeah, this is all in her book. That was just the first chapter. That was just the first chapter. No. And this is the thing. So this is the part that people don't get. Even when she's running her campaign, she is still the vice president at that time. It's called 107 Days. I couldn't tell you who's audibly narrating it, folks. I don't know. I was just reading the first chapter that was published in The Atlantic today. And I love the fact that she's answering everything. And in that first chapter, she answered a ton, right? And let me say this. Do you all remember leading up to the, I will read the book. How about that? It comes out September 23rd. I will read the book live. Okay. I will read the book once we get it. No, it's not. It wasn't. So I disagree, Allie Nicole. Wait, where'd the comment go? Shit. Ag Mama Bear. I disagree. It doesn't show a lack of faith in her. It shows an absolute awareness of her abilities and capabilities. They wanted to continually dim her in order to not jeopardize Joe Biden. Like it's not a lack of faith in her. They know what she's capable of. She's reading her own book on Audible. Love that. So, let me see if this is the one that I want. Yes. Okay. So just so everybody gets, hold on. I'm taking care of something. So if there are folks that want to talk about this part, Hannah, what part do you think we knew already? Because I think that there's a difference between there being you having an idea about things that Biden's team didn't want her to shine. Well, I mean, I think that that's true of almost every presidential team and a vice president. That is very different than taking the measures and the efforts that they did to dim her shine and to keep her where she was. So here's what I would say is I would say that most Black and brown women would already know that. Why wait and write a book? Why not come out and say it when it happened? Because she's the fucking vice president of the United States. That's why. Because a divided executive branch indicates weakness to the rest of the world. Like, that's just not, I don't even know why you would ask that question. Part of me wonders if that's even a real question or if you're just trying to be whatever. Because just saying, like, I don't know that her husband's faith and investments complicate her political career. I think that people's perception of her husband's faith might complicate her political career, but I don't know that it complicated her. Like, you don't become the attorney general, right, for the second largest DOJ in the country, and become the district attorney twice, and become a congressman, a senator that represents 1 in 8 Americans, and your life is dictated by your husband. Like, that's just not a thing, right? You don't become who she is having your husband's faith or investments dictate your political career. Now, if people can't get over their own prejudice or their own bias, and get that, then that's on the people. That's not her. And there are people who absolutely did that. There are people who absolutely. Peacekeeper, I would love for you to come up and talk to me about that. You say she's a Zionist. What I would like is for you to give me something that shows that. I would like for you to give me something on Kamala Harris that demonstrates she's a Zionist, and that's her position. I'll wait. Give me what you got. Give me 1 second, Sammy J. Because I hear this often. And what I would like for somebody to give me something that says that, other than, yeah, okay. And so let me just say this. I would 100% expect the presidential campaign, to get 9 million from AIPAC, 100%. And I would expect her campaign to take money from absolutely everybody with 107 days to win. Absolutely. She did not support the G-side that's happening in Gaza. Like, you're absolutely not telling the truth. So if you want to join the panel, please do, so we can talk about it. If you don't want to join the panel, I'm going to quit talking to you. So that's pretty much that. I don't know any other way to say it. Thanks, landlady. So, and here's what I would say to all of you that are acting like being the vice president of the United States and the presidential candidate at the same time is this easy feat where you can say everything with absolute freedom. This is why people like Trump, because he does dumb shit. And my question to you is, how the fuck is that working for us? The president of peace, we now have fucking NATO having to blow down Russian drones in their airspace, right? You have Qatar being attacked and the United States of America not giving Palestine any heads up, giving Qatar any heads up. Like, I just want y'all to, some of you all can't even run your homes and your families and are criticizing people that are running the fucking country and the entire world. It's amazing to me. You have a ton of criticisms and no answers. You have a ton of criticisms and no understanding. If you're going to criticize, then absolutely criticize, but give me some facts to back up what the fuck you're saying, and then give me what you think are the answers. Please unpin that nonsense that she's writing. Like, I'm just saying, it irritates the absolute hell out of me when people do things like that, as if you know something. You have literally no concept. And the way that I know you have no concept is by the ridiculous things you say. It tells me that you've never been in a position where you have to, some of you all can't negotiate between your husband and your children, but you criticize somebody that is negotiating between entire fucking countries. It's amazing to me. And with all your criticisms, you all elected a man who's sitting in office right now who said, I'm going to let Bibi finish the fucking job so I can build my resorts on the West Bank. Fuck all y'all. And I mean that with every bit of my being. Every single one of you that were like, I will not vote for Kamala Harris, even because of Gaza, I'm going to say fuck all of you all. Because he told you up front, with no doubt about it, I'm going to let him finish the job. I am ready for them to bulldoze Gaza. That is what Donald Trump said. So I don't care. You might want to ask yourself about your underlying misogyny. You might want to ask yourself about your underlying racism. You might want to ask yourself about whatever underlying issues you had that made you ignore the fact that that man told you from his fucking mouth that he was going to allow this to happen. And I am not saying she would have said, no, Palestine's going to be a one state, whatever. But what I do know is that she would have been better than what is happening right now. That I know. And I don't give a damn who likes what I said or didn't say. This is simply the truth. I have a ton of criticism for the Democratic Party. I have a ton of criticism for Democratic candidates. I have a ton of criticism for AIPAC and for Citizens United and for all of that. And at the same time, we do not throw the baby out with the fucking bathwater. You do not throw away American democracy. You do not throw away our Constitution. You do not throw away our civil rights because you don't think this person's doing enough on this one issue. Get the fuck out of here with that. We needed her in office because I do not believe, with a fiber of my being, I do not believe that if Kamala Harris were the president today, we would have the National Guard in LA, in DC, or in Chicago. That would not be happening. I do not believe that our military bases would be renamed after Confederate fucking traitor soldiers again. I don't believe that. I don't believe that if she were in office, we would have rounded up Black and brown people, right? And deported their asses to a terrorist facility in El Salvador with no due process. I don't believe that. I don't believe that we would have spent millions of dollars and handed shit down and built a concentration camp in Florida. I don't believe that. Period. And we can start there. We can start just right there. I don't believe that she would have allowed Israel to attack Qatar and not given Qatar a heads up or even given the green light. I do not believe she would sit back and watch children starve in Gaza. I do not believe that. I do believe at a bare minimum, we would have fucking sanctions. Patrick Ward, do you think I need to go? Get the fuck out my life? That's all you got to do. That's all you got to do. You think I need to go? Get your ass out my life. There you go. Settled. Done. You don't like what I'm saying? There's other places on TikTok to go, but you want to be here just to run your jaws. That's it. That's all you want to do. You won't get on a panel. You won't have a discussion. You won't bring any facts or evidence. You won't have a conversation. You'll run your fucking mouth from the comments like a mediocre man that you are. That's what you'll do. Right. U.S. aid would not have been canceled. Your federal Department of Education would not be dismantled. Your public school systems would not be would have not have had their funding froze the day before they were supposed to get the check. That's what would not have happened. And at the very least, we would not be where we are right now in Gaza. And I do believe that. I do believe that. I'm not saying she would have accomplished no damn one state solution or anything like that. What I am saying is that a bare minimum, it would have at least gone back to what it was before October 7th. At a bare minimum. And is that enough? No, but it's better than this. Hear me when I say that. It's not enough, but it is better than where we are right now. We would not have had 20-year veterans getting kicked out of the military and not even get their retirement benefits because they're trans. We would not have been getting that. You asked me a fucking hypothetical question, Mallory. If you ask me a hypothetical question, I'm going to give you a hypothetical fucking answer. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. And Mallory, if you want to have a conversation with me, hop up on this panel. Hop up on this panel. But I bet you won't. You would not have the Health and Human Services Agency absolutely torn apart. Yes, I support Palestine. Yes. Honey Buzz, please don't put links in the comments. TikTok will get mad about that. Am I proud of what? Here, let me just help you. Here, let me help you. I'm going to help you be proud. Come on up to the panel. Anywhere, say hallelujah. Come on to the panel. I sent you a direct invitation. Again, I'm giving you an invitation to the panel. Come on. My thing says invitation sent, accept. Right, Carla White, exactly. Here, I'll even say hallelujah. Hallelujah. Now can you get on the panel? Anywhere, say hallelujah. I said hallelujah. Get on the panel. I'll I'll even get out my Bible. Since you got a cross and you want somebody to say hallelujah, I'll get a Bible. Let's go. No, I ain't think so. I didn't think so. Any single one of you that has a critique of me, get on up on this panel. Anybody that has a critique of me, if you disagree with what I've said, with my positions, with whatever, request to come up on the panel. And then we will have a very respectful, fact-based conversation. Kamala Harris asked for a ceasefire. Kamala Harris said it on a debate stage. Don't pick and choose. Don't pick and choose what you want to say she said. Because Mallory ain't never going to bring Mallory's ass up on this panel, ever. Ever. Are you, Mallory? Nope, you're going to stay hiding out right where you are. So anyway, people, what I've done is read for you the entire first chapter of the 107-day book, right? You're inaccurate, Mark Allen, and if you want to talk about it, let's talk about it. Mark Allen, if you want to talk about it, let's talk about it. Because no, they're not. I knew they was going to be triggered, Jazzy. I knew they was going to be triggered as soon as I put Kamala Harris's picture up here and as soon as I put on this keffiyeh. I knew for sure people were going to be triggered, and I give zero fucks. As a matter of fact, if you are triggered or if you are uncomfortable, great. That is exactly the place I want you to be in. Great. I want you to be uncomfortable. I want you to be triggered. 100%. I do. The reality is very simple. I do not have to agree 100% with Kamala Harris. And by the way, can I just say this? What really gets me about this, you guys don't want to elect the Black woman because she won't solve an issue in Gaza created by white men, funded by white Western countries, for damn near 100 years. But no, Black woman, you can't be in office because you won't fix the sins that white men committed for the last 100 years. Get the fuck out of here. Get out of here. Where was that same standard when there was every other election? Isn't it ironic how it was only finally enough, the breaking point only happened when it was a woman and a woman of color. Ain't that funny? Ain't that funny? It was never enough when it was everybody else. Like I said, if that's your excuse, this is your opportunity to explore your own misogyny. This is your excuse to explore your own sexism. This is your time to explore your own racism and prejudice. This is your opportunity because none of it makes fucking sense. Because guess what? Right now, you don't have anybody in this administration that is going to do anything to help Palestine. Nothing. The current administration is going to say, Hamas, you better agree to a ceasefire. This is your last warning for the 10th fucking time. while I take out of the agreements where you said you would turn over the authority of the country to an independent technocratic government, while I take out the fact that you said you would give the hostages back, while I take out the fact that you agreed to everything that Israel wanted, but you said you just wanted some aid for people, right? That's it. That's it. We just don't want you to ask for aid. We don't want to require for Israel to remove their military from your land. So, and like I said, all y'all down there in the comments that got something to say, just come on up here in the panel. But you won't. Gemma, Cope, all y'all, you'll just sit down there, chip, chip, chippity, chip, 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 not saying anything of value. Nothing. And this is what is wrong with us. This is what is wrong with us. Mark Allen, YOLO ass is still in the comments too, aren't you? That's what's so funny to me. Y'all brave behind them damn keyboards. That's it. Right? Okay. So, can we talk about the fact that there are other issues that are now they're all tied together? So, when people need to understand, when people say, oh, we need to be worried about the United States of America, well, you might want to understand that all of this is connected to the United States of America, every ounce of it. Every ounce of it. There's a reason that AIPAC, the pro-Israel PAC, invested tens of millions of dollars in the 2024 election. There's a reason for that. There's a reason why they endorse both leaderships from the Democratic and the Republican side. There's a reason. If you do not believe that Israel plays a significant role, because they have helped Palestine. That's why I don't have to answer that ridiculous question, because it's not accurate, Bill. Other countries have helped Palestine. Next. Right? The reality is very simple, folks. Okay? If you're going to ask me a question, I need for you to either be sincere in the question and know, right? And know what you're talking about. And or know the answer to the question and be asking it for the benefit of the room. Because if you ask me a question that is ridiculous, right? You're just going to get the answer. Period. So, oh, I did too, Amy. I did too. Appreciate you, Linda. Appreciate you. Hey, Chelsea, what's up? So, folks, I'm going to be clear and very concise so that everyone understands understands my position, so that we can carry on and talk about some things. Okay. So let me be clear. Okay. I am pro any religion you want to be. Right. So whether you are Jewish, Muslim, Christian, agnostic, atheist, Wiccan, Buddhist, Sikh, Hindu, whatever your religion is, I am pro your ability to be of that religion and to practice your faith. I am anti weaponization of religion to infringe upon the rights and life of other people. Got that? That's very succinct, and easily understood. Okay. That's it. Right. I am pro choice for personal religious choice. You got that. I am 100%. And I'm still okay with your religion. I just become unokay with you if you choose to weaponize that religion to infringe upon the rights or the life of other people. That is not difficult. I mean, Cindy, I already have my ideas about why people voted for Donald Trump. No, religion didn't get us in this mess. People misusing and weaponizing religion got us in this mess. I wish people would stop blaming everything that isn't people. The problem is the people. The problem is not the existence of money. The problem is greedy ass rich people that there's never enough. Right? It is the love of money. It is the greed of money. It ain't the money. It's the people. Just the same way it's not your television, it's the people. The same way it's not your social media, it's the people. It's the people. Do y'all understand that while we might have a shitty system in terms of the electoral college, it's not a problem. It's the people. If you simply voted for the people that had an actual desire to be servants to the public, if you actually vetted your candidates and participated in democracy, it would work. People are the problem. So I need for everybody to stop pretending like changing a system is what's going to fix everything. It is not the system, it is the people. You can change a system, right? And still have the same issues because the people will do what the people will do regardless of the system. The same way that we have a bullshit criminal justice system right now, but we have judges and we have people in that court system that 100% still do the right thing. We still do. We have judges that give fair and equal sentences. We have judges that exercise discretion and compassion. We have judges that do all those types of things. So, Jody, I will tell you the Heritage Foundation is attempting to define what is anti-Semitic. They are attempting to say that any criticism of the Israeli government is anti-Semitism when it is not. That's what they would like to say. Again, for their own agenda. Eugene, you would be incorrect. But apparently you like being incorrect. Just spouting off in the comments, getting nothing right. Correct. Redwood. So, listen, folks, this is not hard to comprehend. Okay. No, I would say peeps for peace. I would say that Trump is doing what Israel has been doing. Israel has been using nationalism to rob and exploit people since its statehood. Yeah. And folks, listen, I just did another podcast episode this morning that is out there, right? And things that I would say, because I'm not going to go through it all again today because I have some other things that we absolutely have to talk about. Quick recap. Okay, so question for everybody. So my mom just joined. Give me one sec, Mom. So she needs a quick recap, which I'm going to do. And I'm also just so that you know, Mom, Kamala's book, 107 Days, will come out on the 23rd of this month. And I have already ordered your copy to be delivered to the house the day after for you. So you already have it. Yeah, Eugene, if you would like to come up to the panel, please do. Right? I doubt that you will, but you are welcome to do so. I just don't think that that's going to be the case. I think you're going to sit down there in the comments and keep japping. Salam, Ahmed. Good to see you. And you can pre-order them just about anywhere. Just look them up. Give me 1 second, folks, because I'm multitasking while I pull this up for just a second. Make sure I've got what I got. Okay, I do. Okay. Mom, people are saying hi to you, just so you know. Okay, so you got one, Deborah. Love that. Okay, so what I started doing, so thank you, Sacred CT. Everybody's saying hi. Thank you, Heather, for the bear. Appreciate it. Okay, so for folks who are just joining, I started this live by reading the first chapter of Kamala Harris's book that's going to come out on the 23rd, which is 107 Days. And I will, if you guys, let me ask this question. Give me a second. So for those of you guys who are on TikTok, if you did not hear me read the first chapter of this book, can you please put a 1 in the comments? If you did not hear the first chapter of Kamala Harris's book, put a 1 in the comments. Okay, that was a lot of you. Okay. My mom said hi back, everyone. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to read that chapter again for everybody. Yeah, so I'm going to read it again for you guys. And that way everybody can hear it. You guys would love that. Great. So I'm going to do that. And then I want to address a couple of the things, okay, that she says in it, because it's really important. Is that Sammy? Salam, Sammy. What's up, JBS? All right. So, right. The people have spoken, apparently. Okay. Deborah, you missed it too. Okay, great. Here we go. All right. So this was printed in the Atlantic today. And I love the fact that there's like a little, yeah, that's cool. A Curious Mind. You're welcome to do that. So I'm going to read the excerpt of this book real quick. And the excerpt, the editor's note is from Jeffrey Goldberg, which you all probably remember. Jeffrey Goldberg is the journalist that they accidentally added to the Signal chat with Pete Hegseth, where they definitely shared. Yeah, it's a kafia. Thank you. Where they absolutely shared classified sensitive information, right? So here we go. The editor's note, I'm going to start with the editor's note and go all the way through. Thank you, Sammy. It says, so the biggest surprise in Kamala Harris's forthcoming account of her rough and ready, intense, and absurdly condensed campaign for president, 107 days, may be that it is filled with surprises. I read it last week, expecting lawyerly calibration and discretion. And this careful Harris is present, but so too is another Harris. Blunt, knowing, fervent, occasionally profane, slyly funny. As you will see in the following excerpt and throughout this newsworthy book, she no longer seems particularly interested in holding back. 107 Days begins with the events of July 21st, 2024, the very late date on which Joe Biden told his vice president and the world that he would exit the presidential race. The chapter below details the events of July 24th, as well as some of Harris's acute observations about the absurdity and unprecedented nature of that political moment. 107 Days will be released by Simon & Schuster on September 23rd. Okay. All right. So here we go. I'm going to dive in and read this for you. And again, if you don't like what I'm saying, if you don't like what I'm reading, if you've got questions, comments, concerns, feel free to request your way to this chat. And when I'm done with this chapter, we will have a discussion. Okay. Here we go. The first stop on the day's calendar had been planned months earlier. At a meeting in the Oval Office discussing her work uplifting Black executives and entrepreneurs, Dr. Stacey N.C. Grant had invited me to address the annual gathering, the grand boule of her sorority, Zeta Phi Beta. Now, I was in Indianapolis looking out over a convention center packed with 6,000 powerful women in dark blue dresses and white jackets. I'm a member of a different sorority, Alpha Kappa Alpha, the first Black women's Greek letter organization founded at Howard University in 1908. But these women are my sisters too. We're all part of the Divine Nine, the Greek organizations founded when segregation was law in the South and standard practice in the North. W.E.B. Du Bois and Thurgood Marshall were early members of the first Black fraternity, Alpha Phi Alpha, founded at Cornell University in 1906. The Divine Nine has been an engine of uplift for generations of Black college men and women, instilling a love and celebration of excellence, philanthropy, and service to all mankind. My Divine Nine family would show up for me throughout the campaign. That day, I was so pleased to see the young president of Phi Beta Sigma, Chris V. Ray, and the esteemed president of Delta Sigma Theta, Elsie Cook Holmes. Throughout my career, I've maintained that people in positions of power must be required to ask of themselves, who am I not hearing from? And then make it their business to seek those folks out. I came to the White House knowing that the people in that building needed to hear from a wider range of voices. As vice president, I'd been given several roles by Joe Biden, but one role I created for myself was building up the diverse coalition that our party encompassed. I made it my business to get out there and make sure that no community was overlooked, especially those that had been taken for granted in the past. Black women, the Democrats' staunchest, most reliable voting bloc, was one such community. The Boule in Indianapolis was one of a dozen Divine Nine gatherings I'd addressed since taking office. On this day, there was a new energy in the room as I walked onto the stage. A Black woman was slated to be the Democratic nominee for president. It was us, and everyone there understood what it meant, that this would be a journey of both joy and pain. I was in a room full of people with whom, because of our shared experience, certain words did not need to be said. There is an emotion that comes from being in a place where people see you, support you, know you. The kindness and the love in that room penetrated the armor I usually wore, armor I'd need to put back on as soon as I left that room. The biggest applause came when I started to say what I would do to restore the rights of Roe v. Wade. Thanks, Shantae. Quote, when I am president, and a roar erupted that drowned out the rest of that sentence. That roar told me they could see it. Clearly, for the first time, this could be, and it should be. It was not because of gender or because of race, but despite those things. I thought, as I often did, of Shirley Chisholm, and I know they did too. The first Black woman elected to U.S. Congress and the first woman to run for our party's nomination. She had blazed the path, and now I was standing on it. From Indianapolis, we flew on to Houston to meet the emergency management staff and get a briefing on recovery efforts after the devastation of Hurricane Beryl. The Hurricane 1 categories eye wall had slammed Houston, bringing down power lines and leaving vulnerable people without air conditioning or water during triple digit heat indexes. At least 20 souls had unalived. The economic damage in the billions was still being reckoned. These kinds of briefings are sadly familiar to me. As district attorney, I'd witnessed the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina. As senator, I'd been to Puerto Rico after Hurricane Maria, and I'd toured the communities in my home state that had been ravaged by wildfires. It was heartbreaking to see the scale of these losses and the exhausted faces of individuals standing in the ruins of a lifetime's work, a lifetime's dreams. It was infuriating to see how predators swarmed like cockroaches, price gouging, spreading misinformation. But it was also inspiring to talk to the first responders who ran toward danger, sometimes helping strangers even as their own homes were at risk. And then there were the regular people who stepped up to help in whatever way they could, collecting toiletries, making sandwiches, organizing clothing drives. In my life, I've seen over and over that it is often the people with the least who give the most. As I shook hands and thanked the police and emergency workers one by one, in each, I saw a hero. The kind of person who answered a calling with a sense of duty to the well-being of people they've never met. A reporter in the press pool shouted a question about Biden's upcoming speech. It was just after 5 p.m. in Houston, and the president would be addressing the nation from the Oval Office later that evening. I watched it at the hotel that night. It was a good speech, drawing on the history of the presidency to locate his own place within it. But as my staff later pointed out, it was almost 9 minutes into the 11-minute address before he mentioned me. Quote, "I want to thank our great Vice President, Kamala Harris. She is experienced, she's tough, she's capable, she's been an incredible partner to me and leader for our country," end quote. And that was it. I am a loyal person. During all those months of growing panic, should I have told Joe to consider not running? Perhaps. But the American people had chosen him before in the same matchup. Maybe he was right to believe that they would do so again. He was, by some measures, the most consistently underestimated man in Washington. He'd been right about his tactics for pushing his agenda through a resistant Congress. It was just possible he was right about this too. And of all the people in the White House, I was in the worst position to make the case that he should drop out. I knew it would have come off to him as incredibly self-serving if I had advised him not to run. He would see it as naked ambition, perhaps as poisonous disloyalty, even if my only message was, don't let the other guy win. Quote, "It's Joe and Jill's decision." We all said that like a mantra, as if we'd all been hypnotized. Was it grace or was it recklessness? In retrospect, I think it was recklessness. The stakes were simply too high. This wasn't a choice that should have been left to an individual's ego, an individual's ambition. It should have been more than a personal decision. Many people want to spin up a narrative of some big conspiracy at the White House to hide Joe Biden's infirmity. Here is the truth as I lived it. Joe Biden was a smart guy with long experience and deep conviction, able to discharge the duties of president. On his worst day, he was more deeply knowledgeable, more capable of exercising judgment, and far more compassionate than Donald Trump on his best. But at 81, Joe got tired. That's when his age showed in physical and verbal stumbles. I don't think it's any surprise that the debate debacle happened right after 2 back-to-back trips to Europe and a flight to the West Coast for a Hollywood fundraiser. I don't believe it was incapacity. If I believed that, I would have said so. As loyal as I am to President Biden, I am more loyal to my country. I was well aware of my delicate status. Lore has it that every outgoing chief of staff always tells the incoming president's chief of staff, rule number 1, watch the VP. Because I'd gone after him after busting in the 2019 primary debate, I came into the White House with what we lawyers call a rebuttal presumption. I had to prove my loyalty time and time again. When Fox News attacked me on everything from my laugh to my tone of voice to whom I dated in my 20s or claimed I was a DEI hire, the White House rarely pushed back with my actual resume. 2 terms elected DA, top cop in the second largest Department of Justice in the United States, senator representing 1 in 8 Americans. Lorraine Bowles, my chief of staff, constantly had to advocate for my role at events. Quote, she's not going to stand there like a potted plant. Give her 2 minutes of remarks, have her introduce the president, end quote. They had a huge comms teams. They had Karine Jean-Pierre briefing in the press room every day. But getting anything positive said about my work or any defense against untrue attacks was almost impossible. An example, in 2021, I was dispatched to the Elysee Palace to help reset our tattered relationship with France after we signed the Australia-UK-US Security Pact. Australia had agreed to buy submarines from France, but they scrapped that contract when we and the UK agreed to supply Australia with nuke subs under the new AUKUS agreement instead. This had caused tremendous friction. So in our meeting, Emmanuel Macron and I warmed the chill by focusing on our many areas of cooperation, such as space exploration, climate change, transatlantic security, cybersecurity, the Sahel, and the Indo-Pacific. On that trip, I was invited to visit the renowned Pasteur Institute, where my mother had worked on mRNA research related to breast cancer. I was speaking informally with the scientists there about how I wished politicians would more closely follow the scientific method, testing a hypothesis and adjusting according to results, rather than coming in with the plan as if they had all the answers up front. And I said the plan with exaggerated emphasis and air quotes. Fox News, the New York Post, and Newsmax went wild, claiming I'd faked a French accent. This was total nonsense. But the White House seemed glad to let reporting about my gaffe overwhelm the significant thaw in foreign relations I'd achieved. Worse, I often learned that the president's staff was adding fuel to negative narratives that sprang up around me. One narrative that I took a stubborn hold was that I had a quote unquote chaotic office and unusually high staff turnover during my first year. The plain fact is many people who come to work with a new administration in the White House haven't done it before. It's a job unlike any other. And not every person, no matter how talented in their former position, can step up into such a high stress, round the clock role. Others find they just don't want a job that doesn't pay particularly well, takes a massive toll on family, and rules out anything resembling a normal life. I'm not going to keep people on who can't thrive in their jobs. It's not fair to them, and it's not good for the country. So the first year in any White House sees staff churn. Working for the first woman vice president, my staff had the additional challenge of confronting gender stereotypes, a constant battle that would prove exhausting. I was the first vice president to have a dedicated press pool tracking my every public move. Before me, vice presidents has what's called a supplemental pool, as the first lady does, covering important events. Because of this constant attention, things that had never been especially newsworthy about the vice president were suddenly reported and scrutinized. And when the stories were unfair or inaccurate, the president's inner circle seemed fine with it. Indeed, it seemed as if they decided I should be knocked down a little bit more. Quote, the VP should take on irregular migration, end quote. From March 2021, my assignment was to attack the root causes of the misery that was driving people from their homes and villages in Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador. Because I'd prosecuted cartels and human traffickers from the Northern Triangle, I was up to speed on the region and its problems and had ideas about the kind of investments and other interventions that over time would reduce irregular migration, help to bring stability, and offer people a safer future in their own community. Most people don't want to leave home. They don't want to leave their grandmother, their church, their friends, their language. And when they do, it is usually for one of two reasons. They fear for their lives or they can't make a living. Much of that region is rural, and farmers are increasingly hit by climate events such as floods and droughts. If you can no longer grow food where you are, and if there's no other livelihood, you will leave because there's simply no choice. Corruption and gangs thrive when there are limited resources. Pliskin, the reason I say do not use all caps is because all caps are reserved for my moderators and my folks that are vision impaired. So could you not be an asshole to people with disabilities and refrain from using all caps? That would be greatly appreciated. Because I'm sure that you would not want to be an asshole to people with disabilities. Right, Pliskin? Republicans mischaracterized my role as quote unquote border czar. No one in the White House comms team helped me to effectively push back and explain what I had really been tasked to do, nor to highlight any of the progress I had achieved. I won commitments of $5.2 billion in new investments by private companies for the region. I had already seen almost $1 billion of that money deployed thanks to enthusiastic partners such as MasterCard, Microsoft, and Nespresso. I held numerous bilateral meetings with leaders throughout the region, especially with President Alejandro Giammattei in Guatemala and later his successor, President Bernardo Arevalo. I had multiple calls with Giammattei warning him that I expected free and fair elections. I sent my national security advisor, Phil Gordon, to reinforce the message in person, and I publicly supported Arevalo once the election was called. I met with activist groups fighting against corruption and for human rights in El Salvador, Guatemala, and Honduras. Cabinet members pitched in. Tom Vilsack at the Department of Agriculture assessed resources to train farmers in the latest methods to increase yields. I worked closely with Mexico's president, Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador, and his successor, President Claudia Sheinbaum, on our mutual border concerns. The investment I was bringing was a bargaining chip with regional governments to crack down on corrosive levels of corruption. These American companies, I told them, would not invest unless real steps were taken. The investments I encouraged have connected communities to the internet and brought people into the formal financial system, creating jobs and opportunity. In the locations where I was able to bring new enterprises and greater stability, data showed it was working. Our investments had created 70,000 new jobs, reached more than 1 million people with training programs, and connected 2.5 million previously unbanked people with banking services and access to credit. These people were staying put. I wanted to get that good news out, but White House staff stalled. Quote, "Not yet. We need more data." So the story remained untold. Instead, I shouldered the blame for the porous border, an issue that had proved intractable for Democratic and Republican administrations alike. Even the breathtaking cruelty of Trump's family separation policy hadn't deterred the desperate. It was an issue that absolutely demanded bipartisan cooperation at an impossibly partisan, most uncooperative time. No one around the president advocated, give her something she can win with. And then the Dobbs decision came down. Here was a huge issue on which the president was not seeking to lead. Joe struggled to talk about reproductive rights in a way that met the gravity of the moment. I have to pause for a second for the folks that are in the comments talking about give Joe some grace. Absolutely not. Kamala Harris has the right to give you her experience as she lived it, as she witnessed it, as she saw it firsthand, and we are not going to diminish her experience, her truth, her life, and say, give him what? Absolutely fucking not. I'm giving him zero grace. Because at the bare minimum, it's his responsibility to know what the fuck his staff is doing. So no, we're not giving anybody any grace. We are listening. We are listening to this woman. We are listening to this woman of color tell us what happened when she could not tell us at the time. That's what we're going to do. Here was a huge issue on which the president was not seeking to lead. Joe struggled to talk about reproductive rights in a way that met the gravity of the moment. He ceded that leadership to me. I initiated a national tour and rallied the outrage in red states and blue states alike. As well as big public events, I convened roundtables, starting out with 10 or 12 state legislators whom I would connect with resources in the Justice Department or Health and Human Services. Soon, advocates started attending, then healthcare providers, then families affected by restrictive laws. There would be hundreds of people at these meetings building a national coalition. If you don't, I'm sorry, where did it go? Here, I am here. You need to come join my panel with your 10,000 people. Deborah K., this is your shining moment. I would love for you and all your whiteness to come tell me as a Black woman whether Kamala Harris is or is not Black and what her parents did or did not say. Please do that for me right now. Because you opened your mouth and now I'm ready for you to get right on up here on this panel and let's discuss it. And let you tell me what you know about being a woman of color, much less a Black woman. Where are you at, Deborah? You was at work? Well, stop stealing from your employer. How about that? Get off TikTok. Y'all always at work. Y'all got time to tap, tap, tappity, tap, tap, tap on those fucking keys. But then you always at work when it's time to get on that panel. You ain't stating no damn fact. Come back when you get, what time do you get off? I will meet you. What time do you get off? I will meet you right here on TikTok when you get the fuck off. What time do you get off, Deborah? I am rearranging my day for you. Where are you at? Yeah, Mr. Barrios, I got hella time today. Where are you at, Deborah? Y'all, listen to my moderators. If Deborah puts in the comments what time she is off today, please let me know so that I can mark it in my calendar at this time, and I will be the fuck live, especially for you, Deborah. And my background is gonna say Deborah K. I'm waiting for you. That's what it's gonna say. Matter of fact, let me fuck around and follow you right now. Let me just go ahead and follow you. That way I'll know. And then maybe, Deborah, if you go live, I can join your live. Don't tell me to do a fact check. You fact check before you say some shit. I just followed you. Ain't nobody dealing with that foolishness today. Y'all tickle me. White people always want to talk about what the fuck Kamala Harris is or isn't. I'll tell you what she ain't. Ain't here for you to determine what she is. So anyway, back to the paragraph. I initiated a national tour and rallied the outrage in red states and blue states alike, as well as big public events. I convened roundtables, starting out with 10 or 12 state legislators, whom I would connect with resources with the Justice Department or Health and Human Services. Soon, advocates were attending, then healthcare providers, then families affected by the restrictive laws. Don't bring up Judge Joe to me. Judge Joe to me, listen, all skin folk ain't kin folk. And you probably don't know what that means, Deborah, because your ass ain't skin folk. Fuck out of my face with that. Judge Joe, don't speak for us. I know y'all like to take one black person and think they speak for all of us, but they don't. We are individuals. We have our own thoughts, our own attitudes, our own belief systems, and you don't know shit. And regurgitating the foolishness of one black man don't make you know shit. And to be working, you're not getting a lot done, Deborah. You still, look, you got time to talk about Judge Joe Brown, but you ain't had time to type when the fuck you get off work, have you? You can type what Judge Joe Brown said, but you ain't had time to type what time you get off work, have you, Deborah? That's what I thought. All of this work upended the narrative that we were doomed to a shellacking in the midterms. We defied historical precedent because of our efforts on this issue. Since 1934, the president's party has lost an average of 28 House seats and 4 Senate seats in the midterm elections. We lost just 9 seats in the House and retained control of the Senate. Joe was already polling badly on the aging issue, with roughly 75% of voters saying he was too old to be an effective president. Then he started taking on water for his perceived blank check to Benjamin Netanyahu in Gaza. When polls indicated that I was getting more popular, the people around him didn't like the contrast that was emerging. In Selma, Alabama, at the commemoration of Bloody Sunday, when civil rights marchers were attacked and beaten once they'd crossed the Edmund Pettus Bridge, I gave a strong speech on the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. Desperate people had been shot when they swarmed a food truck, and I spoke of families reduced to eating loaves or animal feed, women prematurely giving birth with little or no medical care, and children dying from malnutrition and dehydration. I reiterated my support for Israel's security and called on Hamas to release the hostages and accept the ceasefire then that was on the table. I also called on Israel to give greater access to aid. It was a speech that had been vetted and approved by the White House and the National Security Council, because her speeches had to be, right? It went viral, and the West Wing was displeased. I was castigated for apparently delivering it too well. Their thinking was zero sum. If she's shining, he's dimmed. None of them grasped that if I did well, he did well. That given the concerns about his age, my visible success as his vice president was vital. It would serve as a testament to his judgment in choosing me and reassurance that if something happened, the country was in good hands. My success was important for him. His team didn't get it. That is the end of the first chapter of Kamala Harris's new book called 107 Days. It will be released on the 23rd of this month. So that is what I read so that everybody could hear it. And for those of you all who are saying I'm spicy today, I am. And the reason I am is because the more that I learn about history and who we are and how we got here and who's doing what, the less grace I have for aggressive ignorance. You follow me? The less grace I have for aggressive ignorance. Now, if you just don't know, then you don't know, right? But if you're going to come in here and talk shit, right? But then you won't come up on this panel to have a conversation, I don't have nothing for you. I literally have nothing for you. Now, if you think there's something that I'm saying that's wrong, if you think that there's something that I'm saying that is inaccurate, then let's talk about it. We can absolutely have a conversation about it. 100%. I don't have a fucking party, Robert. So how about not making assumptions? I'm sure somebody told you throughout your life what it means when you make assumptions. It makes an ass out of you, not me. Actually, yes, Jen, because I need to get some ice and water before I dig back in. And then Robert, you can bring your ass on up to the panel. That's what you can do. I bet you won't, though. I bet you won't.
You've been right all day, Danny.
I have, haven't I? Ain't not near one of them brought their ass to the panel.
Good morning or afternoon to everybody, depending on where you are. All right, you guys, as we give Danny this well-deserved break and much-needed break, please keep those fingers tapping. We have been doing really well on the tapping lately, y'all, so just, keep that up. That is a great free way to support her content and all of these very, very important messages that she's bringing to all of us. And then getting it out on the FYP for more people to see all this very important information. Hello, everybody. So another free way that you can support her content and help the TikTok algorithm is to use that share button. It's at the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. It's a little curved arrow. Go ahead and click that and then choose some people that you want to share this with. Maybe some people even in the opposition who really need to hear this. Now, If you don't have anybody specific, please use that arrow anyway and click the copy link button. And in fact, you can do that multiple times to help the algorithm. You can do that multiple times a day. If you happen to not be following Danny yet, please make sure you do that right now. And also take note that Danny does have the same handle, which is the Danny Cook, on almost every platform you can imagine. So there are some people on the Tube right now. There are some people on the Book of Faces and on Substack watching her live stream as well. If you are on TikTok, we don't know what the rules are going to, what kind of effect the rules are going to have next week. So please make sure you are following her on her other platforms, just in case we need to hop on over to a different one, okay? If you are on one of the other platforms and you can hear my voice right now, please make sure you take a moment to click the respective like button on all those platforms. So, for example, on the Tube, you may need to reduce the chat for a moment, click the thumbs up button, and then you can tap back into the chat and resume your comments. The Tube is one of those things, and I know, Danny, you've had your actual YouTube channel for a while, but I don't know if you're monetizing over there yet. Nope. YouTuber? Okay. You guys, please listen to me for just a second. Everybody who's on a TikTok as well. Creators on YouTube need a certain number of hours watched on that platform before they can monetize. We want to protect Danny and all of the important information that she brings to us. And as I always like to say, all of the dots she connects for us. So please, if you have a way to hop over there once in a while and put in some of those watch hours, that will help her. And especially in case we need to hop over there sometimes, it is very, very important that we kind of help her, sustain all of the things, all the work she does. And if you guys know anything about teachers, right? Danny is a teacher. And teachers do not just teach during class time. They do a lot of work in the background. And Danny is no different. She does a lot of research, a lot of reading, and a lot of preparation. And that takes materials. And yes, it does cost her money. So if you have a way to subscribe to her, please make sure you're doing that. Again, go over to the Tube, right? The Tube of You, and put in some of those watch hours so that she can also start to monetize over there if necessary. Okay, that helps pay for her paper, her printer ink, her highlighters, all of the things. And again, it just takes her a lot of time. So, what's also different, you guys already know this, what's different about Danny, and a lot of the creators that are in the political content, this isn't something they teach the same material over and over and over. It changes literally every day, sometimes by the minute and by the hour. Yeah. And they have to keep up with that. That is a lot of work, you guys. And I wouldn't be surprised if she starts to take stock in like ibuprofen or Tylenol.
You don't want to see just
and your knee and all of that too. But even despite that, just the headache that this regime is bringing to all of us. So please support her in all of the ways that you can, you guys. And again, keep those fingers tapping. And I want to just say one quick comment, Danny, that I remember when Kamala was on Stephen Colbert's show, and she made this comment like, I just don't want to be a part of like the system. She used that word, the system.
Yep.
And if anybody's has gone up through the corporate ladder or maybe even the ranks through the military, sometimes the more doors that open to you and the more you see, the less you like what you see.
Yep.
Unfortunately, the higher you get toward the top of a ladder, so to speak, they start to reveal the not so transparent connections, right? How people got to where they are, or little favors that people do here and there. And it doesn't quite sit well, especially with people that are in this life. People who support Danny are a lot like her in that we demand justice, right? We like to see justice on all levels. And when you don't see that, it's very, very frustrating. And I don't know about you guys, but I feel like I've even seen just a little bit of the glimmer of AOC's eyes dim a little bit because of I know what she's now seen, right? Even newer people to the scene, what they've been exposed to now is sort of like, oh shit. But you know what, you guys? I love the way Danny reminds us that we can't just judge on superficial things or on one aspect of a person, because even good people have to work within a system, even if the system itself is broken. And they have to do their best. And sometimes having good people work within a broken system to try their best to fix it is sometimes the best way at the moment.
It is. Until you have a different system.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So anyway, Danny, I hope you got all of the stuff that you needed. Thank you so much for bringing it. The reading has been excellent. I think you literally sold the book to 400 people this morning. Yeah. Honestly, with your reading, you are such a dynamic reader.
Well, thank you.
And thank you very much for doing that.
I'm excited to get my hands on it and to be able to read the entire thing. I love the fact that she's just doing it as she experienced it and not pulling any punches. I really am excited to hear the rest of it. So
yeah, and you guys, as Danny always reminds us to be cognizant of the emotions that this will inevitably dredge up for you, because this is an in our face reminder of what we could have had. Yes. Okay. Yep. And it will get you more angry again at what we are now actually faced with. Okay. Our current reality is awful and we all know it, and it will make you more angry. So just remember, as you're approaching readings like this, and a lot of people are going to be talking about it again and using their judgment and giving their whatever their opinion is, just remember to expect it. Sometimes when you can expect that certain emotions are going to come up, you can sort of cope with them a little bit better, a little bit easier, right? And I say cope because I don't mean put them away. I don't mean ignore them. I just mean, learn your coping mechanisms. If you know you're going to need to go outside, get some sunshine, or, have some more time with your pets or something like that, then know that ahead of time, and you might be able to mitigate some of your angst a little bit, right?
100%.
That's all.
Yeah. So, appreciate you,
Love
Jen.
You,
as always, you're amazing. Love you back.
Too.
Appreciate you.
Bye.
Okay, so folks, let me also remind you that a new episode of the podcast went up today. And another episode was out on Saturday. And what I'm doing with those episodes is, thank you, Celine, is connecting a lot of the dots with all of the things that are happening. And when we are having conversations, whether it's about the midterms, whether it's about Gaza, whether it is about, the Heritage Foundation, all of them are all connected together. They all play some sort of role. Salam, Angel. Yeah. You said I would take an interview with myself. I'm confused, but it's so PE, if you need to take a Joy Reid, I would happily talk to Joy Reid. But here's the thing, right? I said it this morning when I was recording it's the Danny Cook Show, Brown, same as everything. I'm not muted, Bala. I'm not muted. You might have to swipe out and swipe back in. But it all does play a role together. And I will tell you something. So I talked about it yesterday and I recapped some of it in the podcast episode today. The further back that I started going and the more that I understand that the West, the Allied powers, the US and the British and all of those individuals made decisions about, thanks, Angie, made decisions about Palestine without Palestine having a say, the angrier I got. The more that I read things where they pretended to not know that they had already agreed to give Palestine to the Zionist Jews. And that's not my terminology. That is their terminology. It literally says the Jewish Zionists, right? So that's not Danny Cook's language. That's the language of the Balfour Declaration of 1917. The more that I read these things, knowing that they had made these choices of what was going to happen to these people, to their land, before they even had that land for themselves. And then they wrote things and pretended like that wasn't the case, the angrier I got. And the angrier I got, the more I understood, not condoning. I want you all to hear me. I don't condone maiming, starving, killing of anybody. Like I love humanity. I don't always love certain human beings, but I love humanity. And so I don't condone causing harm, right? And I can understand it. Like I sometimes think about how we feel as Black Americans in this country, right? I think about how we feel and how difficult it can be The more you learn about the history of this country, the more you learn about the intentionality to cause harm to Black and brown people, right? The harder it can be not to feel angry towards a particular group of people. You just pre-ordered, Lynette. And so I think that people need to understand that. You know what I mean? And it's not condoning anything, but understanding is critical. Y'all ignore Gwendolyn. Her ass is striving for attention. And I literally give zero fucks. I literally give zero fucks. If I just can't. I can't. Like when I read the first thing that, unless I misread it, what was the first thing you popped up in here saying? Something ass crazy about your last name is Rod. There it is. My last name is Rodriguez, and I voted for mass deportation. I don't give a shit. Have at it. If that's what you voted for, have at it. Like, I don't know what you want me to say about that. Like, who comes into a room and says that? Somebody looking for attention. That's it. Like, I didn't ask you who you voted for or what you voted for. I didn't ask you anything about your last name or your family. I literally don't care. And I don't care if you're white either. I'm not even asking her about regretting her vote. She's probably not even a real person. And even if she is, I still don't give a fuck. Just don't engage with Gwendolyn. We don't care what Gwendolyn's doing. Let Gwendolyn be Gwendolyn. Be great, Gwendolyn, and may you have the day you deserve. Shit, that's all I can tell you. Have the day you deserve. That's all I got for you. So things that so here's what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring some folks up to the panel so that we can discuss whatever it is. Here's what I'm going to say to you all. No one cares, Gwendolyn. Talking about she's white and da da da. Girl, nobody cares. Nobody cares if you are white or not. Nobody cares about what you voted for. Nobody cares. Anyway, so I'm going to reiterate a couple of things, right? Well, yes, I am a Black woman on TikTok in the middle of the day because I own my own company and I'm a disabled veteran. So you can miss me with all your racist bullshit. How about that? And now you can just go away. Block. Ba-doom. There we go. I can't. Because y'all, my ADD ass will keep seeing stuff. I can't. Listen, people tickle me. White people tickle me when you mad. Do you go into lives with white boys and say, you're a white boy on TikTok in the middle of the day trying to make money? Really? Is that what you say? Probably not. Get the fuck out of here. So listen, when I bring you up to this panel to participate in this conversation, be mindful that I only ask a couple of things. I ask for you to be respectful. I ask for you to not use slurs. I ask for you to not spam my comments and don't type in all caps. And the reason we don't type in all caps is because all caps are reserved for my moderators and for my folks that are vision impaired. So don't be an asshole and do it just trying to be funny because you'll get muted or booted. That's it. And by the way, folks, that demonstration you just saw is exactly what Kamala Harris was describing in her book on a vice presidential level. That's what she's describing to you on a vice presidential level. So, all right, folks, let's do this. If you did not mean to request up, I know. If you please put yourself on mute when I first bring you up, please. He said I didn't mean to do that. Okay, cool. What just happened? Right, Cam, we know. That's why she said in that room, when you're in a room with people, because of your shared experience, there are certain things that don't need to be said. Nini, you're hilarious. Okay, so I do not. Let me pop up in here. Okay, so Sammy J, you requested up first a while back. What you got, sis?
Well, I did it on accident, but I'm here, so I'll say a few things. I worked in corporate America, and it's so crazy because sometimes you think you just ended up in the wrong spot, or that it's just a bad fit, or maybe it's you. And it's so crazy listening to that because I know for me and a lot of people probably listening, that was so relatable. And no, I'm not a Black woman, but it was relatable to me as a Hispanic woman who's worked in corporate America, had an incompetent boss, a mediocre white male who had no problem making me look bad to cover his own butt.
Yep.
I've lived that. And it's crazy because you don't, that's actually, it's interesting because I only know this because of TikTok, right? I only know that I'm not alone because of TikTok. But you normally think that that's just maybe you, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe it was just that one boss you had. But this is happening across corporate America. And that's why, for example, when you look at a lot of these corporations, there's not a lot of women and there's not a lot of Black and brown women because these are our lived experiences. And what do? We leave. I left, right? I was making 6 figures and I left. I had to walk away. I had to. It was not good for my mental health. And it's just crazy. It's crazy that that's relatable on the vice presidential level.
Yes.
That's just mind blowing and infuriating. And I hear it and I get it because they would much rather let you look bad than to expose their own incompetence.
Right.
Than to expose their own mediocrity.
I just need for y'all to understand that this country was okay with literally throwing the whole country to hell in a handbasket rather than elect a Black woman.
Right. Yeah, and that's the thing too. Is if there's never been any reason to believe that this country is sexist and racist, I can say those words, right?
I say them all the time.
Any reason, this election tells us everything. You cannot tell nobody. I promise you, nobody, not even the people who voted for that man, will ever say he was more qualified than her because he wasn't, and he still isn't. He doesn't speak better than the 3rd grader, and everybody who's ever watched any Donald Trump speech knows that.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? You'll never be able to say that he was as good as her or more competent than
her. Never. I mean,
but he won because this country is racist and sexist. That's it. Bottom line. And to talk, but to be fair, because I know you make this point too, she had 107 days.
Yep.
She lost only by 1.6% of the popular vote.
Yep.
And was she was given an impossible task of winning that election in 107 days. Let's be real.
And she still damn near did it.
And she still damn near did it.
Right.
She still damn near did it. And I cannot wait to read this book. I am just, wow.
Yeah, I can't wait to read it. We're going to read it together on TikTok. We are definitely going to do that. She 100% Astrid, more competent than damn near anybody that's run for office, run for the presidency. And so when people say, why do you have to make everything about whatever? Nobody is, but calling a thing, like acknowledging something exists is not making it about something. If it's about that, it's about that. I'm here to tell you right now, if we had tens of thousands of little Ukrainian children being starved or pew-pewed in the head, the chest, or the abdomen while being enticed for food, if we saw the images that are coming out of Gaza, coming out of Ukraine right now, listen, shit would be entirely different. Do not tell me that I am not addressing that addressing the racial disparities is making it about race. No, but I can absolutely point out the racial disparities. I can absolutely do that. I can talk about how the Allied powers handled their mandates over certain territories when those territories were made up of Black and brown people. I can talk about that. I can talk about the fact that they were interested in ensuring that they had equal trade and they were near a canal. And like it's always been about them and their money, 100%.
Yeah. Yeah, I always remember when I was in college, I had a classmate from Nigeria and something tragic had happened in France. I don't remember what it was anymore, but everybody was putting the French flag on their profile picture at that time. Mm-hmm. And I remember mentioning to him, because it was just a news headline, and he was like, he was from Nigeria. So he says to me, do you know how many things like that are happening every day in Africa? He said, nobody gives a damn when it happens in Africa.
Thank you, Mike.
He was like, I'm respectfully, but like, I got other things I'm worried about.
Yep.
And that totally kind of flipped a switch in my mind because it's true. Like if the woman, I think you posted about it, the woman who was from Ukraine that was attacked on the train, which is a tragedy. And that person does need to be prosecuted. Don't get me wrong. Mm-hmm. But now that's getting pushed to the federal level that President Trump's getting involved, this, that, and the other.
Oh, they're talking about taking the funding from CATS, which by the way, the CATS buses in Charlotte are already significantly financially challenged. So the post that I shared, let me just go ahead because I want people to know what the fuck I shared. So I actually know the person that wrote this post. We are friends. His name is Blues. Boris Rogers is his name. He is a Emmy award-winning poet in Charlotte. Shantae, if you still in here, it's Blues's post that I shared. Yeah, it's already struggling, Chef Ryan. And here's what he said. And I shared it because it's the absolute damn truth. Here's what it is. He says, do you want to see the power of whiteness / white privilege / white centering / white women in real time? Witness Irina Zartuska, innocent woman, fled Ukraine, unalived on a CATS bus. Felon gives her a unaliving gets national attention. Then there's an FBI investigation. Now the Department of Transportation is threatening to pull millions in federal funding from CAT, which is kind of struggling as is, and a list of other things happening because of the brutal, unprovoked attack. To the felon and his friends, if the goal of her tragedy is to bring national attention by stoking fear and using it as a political tool, then allow me to use this opportunity as well. His name was Ethan Rivera, a CATS bus driver who was unalived while doing his job. CATS drivers and workers have been asking for raises and a few things, but above all, safety. And they are still fighting for safety. So where is the same energy for Ethan Rivera, for the CATS workers? Where is the same energy for the number of Black women assaulted on and around CATS transits regularly? White right-wing politicals, I expect to hear very little from you on this. It would require you seeing people of color as valuable. Your silence and obtuseness will be on brand. And to be clear, the man who unalived her should have never been out of jail. There is a story that is going around in Charlotte because he is unhoused in Charlotte, that he actually called 911 several times on himself because he thought he was going to harm someone. And he put in parentheses, this needs to be fact checked. What is true is that he has been arrested several times for violent assaults. So that's the post that Sammy J is referring to, that I shared today, because it's the absolute damn truth. We've talked about this before, the attention that is available in the media when it comes to white women and whiteness in this country. So,
yeah, which again, the person who did what he did, it should be prosecuted. That there's no standing up for that kind of action, right?
Right.
But it's crazy how that is a national story, and these happen to people of color all the time and they don't become national stories. That's the point that we're making. Nobody's defending the guy who did that to her.
Well, and I think the only other thing that I'll say about that though, Sammy J, is he so if they have been calling 911 on him and asking for assistance, I wonder, so how did this, because in this case, it's the system that failed both her and him. If his sister called and said he needs help and help did not come,
yeah,
the system failed, both of them.
They need to do their research on that, because if that's true, then the system failed both of them, and she should still be alive today. And they were both failed. I would agree with that for sure.
Yeah. So
but yeah, I guess that's my 2 cents. It's just, I can't believe we're in this timeline. It's just crazy. The Supreme Court's ruling yesterday on racial profiling is just insane to me.
I think that was 2 days ago, right?
2 days ago? Okay. I had a birthday over the weekend, so I'm just now kind of finding out what's going on in the world.
Yeah. Well, for those of you all who do not know, the Supreme Court has now said that they are going to take up the case to determine whether or not Trump has presidential power to make sweeping tariffs without Congress approval. So they're going to take that case up. The other thing that people need to know is that the Heritage Foundation is about to release their next new project, and it is going to take on the United States Constitution. It takes on the Constitution amendment by amendment, step by step. And it is laying the groundwork for the Trump administration to challenge the Constitution from an originalist perspective and have those cases heard before the Supreme Court. That's what's coming next from the Heritage Foundation. So, yeah. You want to say anything about that, Sammy J, before I move on to the next person?
Oh my God, that was a lot. I don't even know what to say. I'll say one more thing about Kamala's book, and then I gotta go. That's why I was on mute for a second. But the whole thing that we were pretty sure we knew, because I know we've said it too, that she couldn't necessarily go against Joe Biden's agenda. She was still vice president while she was running for office, so she couldn't say, I would do everything totally. I got a phone call. Am I still here?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, she couldn't say I would do everything totally different. She couldn't go against him, against her boss. Like you said, like she was the VP at the time, and we knew that. But for her to come out and say it, like I can appreciate that. Like she gave that speech. She called for a ceasefire. She called for all the things that they wanted Joe Biden to call for. I don't think she was in favor of this perceived blank check, from what I gathered in just that first chapter.
Right.
And she couldn't break away from that. You know, they asked her, would she do anything different? And I think at the time she said no, but because she couldn't say anything different.
Yeah. And so let me say this. I'm going to say this like real clear. I am not in any way, shape, or form trying to tell anybody that Kamala Harris would have gotten behind a one-state solution in Palestine. I'm not saying that because I don't know that, right? What I will say is that a bare minimum, I would think that things would not be where they are today, and they would have at least been how they were prior to this most recent escalation. Now, she might have, but I don't know that. And so because I don't know that, I'm not going to gaslight people and tell them she would have been the answer to Palestine, because I can't say that. What I can say emphatically is that she would not have done what Donald Trump did and said, go ahead and finish the job, Benjamin Netanyahu. That's what I would say.
And to everyone who said, oh, because she was part of that admin, that they couldn't bring themselves to vote for all the Jill Stein voters, that couldn't purity testers and all that. This is what we got. This is what we got thanks to these purity test Jill Stein voters. And not just, I shouldn't put it all on them, but that's part of it, right? Also, it's due to the people who voted for Donald Trump. I'll say that too. But yeah, you were holier than thou, and now look, Gaza's being flattened still, and he doesn't care, and he's not going to start caring.
Yeah.
Anyway, I have to go. My son wants me to watch a movie with him.
Okay, so go take care of Superman. Spider-Man.
Anyway,
Spider-Man. Okay, girl. Love you, mean it. Bye.
Love you too. Bye.
All right. So next, Shepherd. Good afternoon. How are you? I don't know if you meant to request up. Shepherd, I'm sending you an invitation to unmute. Mom, what didn't you really want to hear? Oh, the Constitution piece? I know. Sorry. Hate to be the bearer of bad news, but it is a thing. Yeah, it's in a new book that they're putting out. Okay. Shepherd, request back up if you intended to. Ritz, you are paused. Did you mean to request up? Yeah, so here's my thing. Third-party voting, not voting at all, you're part of the problem, period. That's part of the problem. The Heritage Foundation is putting out a new book, and it is called The Heritage Guide to the Constitution. It is like clause by clause analysis of the Constitution. And, you know, it's kind of the judicial side of oh, okay, no worries, Ritz. It is the judicial side of the Project 2025 part, right? Of what the executive branch was. Did that mean they're going after voting rights at some point? I mean, they already have been. They already have been going after voting rights, right? Like, so all of this redistricting, all of those things. I mean, like Trump saying that he's going to be able to do, well, so Israel is giving their people universal health care. We're just paying for it because of the billions of dollars that we give to Israel. Like, folks, we could have universal health care in this country. We have the ability to do it. We have, it's on the Atlantic, Cat Whisperer. The first chapter of the 107 days. Yeah, Lena, it is. It's the first chapter of 107 days by Kamala Harris is on the Atlantic. That's where I read it from. Yeah, universal health care in the long run is a lot cheaper than the systems that we have now. The problem is that, you know, they want to privatize as much of our medical and our healthcare as we can, because they want to get rich off of people's sicknesses. So for people that don't get this, right, understand that corporations like to make Americans sick with their ridiculous ass companies, right? Go ahead and drink some more soda, eat some more chips. Like, if you even look at what we have compared to other countries, the same product looks entirely different in other countries because they are not allowed to put the things into their products in other countries that they put in our products. That's a fact. Okay. So that is, so what should that automatically tell you right off top? It should tell you that American corporations give zero fucks about the people, about Americans. Right? They give zero fucks about Americans. They do not care what happens to your body as a result of what they do, as long as they have the profit margins that allow them to buy their yachts and their second and third and fourth homes and all the things. Okay. Number two, I talk about this all the time. So let me tell you, and this is the way that I see it, being born and raised in the South. Okay. So we have restaurants and groceries that make you sick, right? So that then when you're sick, you can go to the hospital, to the doctor, right? Where everybody at church prays for you to get better. And then after you spend a shit ton of money in the hospital, at the doctor, and on medication, then you get home where those same people that was praying for you in the church bring you more of that unhealthy food that makes your ass sick. And sometimes they bring it to you while you're in the hospital, right? And the cycle just repeats itself. Pray about it. Don't change nothing. Eat like shit. Live like shit. Buy stuff. Like, you see what I'm saying? And then everybody's like, well, why aren't things any better? Because of people. If you want things to get better, guess what? Develop some compassion. If you want things to get better, develop some understanding. If you want things to get better, give each individual respect as a default. Just default for being a human being. They get a certain level of respect. That as a human being, there is nothing special you need to do to deserve to afford to eat. The idea that there are people saying you want free shit is crazy to me when we're talking about things like food or housing. What? What? And you got to ask yourself, if you're one of those people and you are professing to be a Christian, I would say you're out of alignment. 100%. And do you know what some of y'all like to do? Some of you all like to fuss about people getting free shit, right? So that you can vote with your own pocketbook. So then you can take what's left over in your pocketbook, donate it for your tax deduction so that you can get more money and feel good about yourself because you gave money to a damn charity that shouldn't need to exist if we simply took care of people. But don't nobody want to talk about that. All your virtue signaling. Well, we went out, our church went out and fed the homeless. Well, we shouldn't need to do that. We should not have homeless people. If you got $1 trillion damn Department of Defense budget, we do not need to have homeless people. And by the way, folks, if we took care of people, corporations and businesses would probably be even wealthier because people wouldn't be too sick to not come to work. People wouldn't hate coming to work and they would want to do more. This idea of depraving people of things, it's crazy to me. Everybody, I bet you everybody would agree with this. So listen, folks, how many of you all, when you have a boss that says, oh, your kid is sick, go make sure your kid is good and then come back. Don't you want to do more for that boss? When you have a boss that says, hey, listen, like, I know you don't have like a lot of time off or whatever, but go ahead and do this so that, you know, make sure your family is good. Then you're ready to come in and work overtime for free. Then you're ready to take work home with you and do even more. Right? Ain't it crazy? But they don't do that. Ain't that crazy? But somehow CEOs don't understand that, Jeff Bezos. Like, people ought to be fearful of you. Get the fuck out of here. Imagine that. Taking care of people would actually make them be more productive. What a concept. What an idea. What a possibility. Crazy. Y'all, it is so important because let me tell you why we have reached the place that we are at. We have reached the place where we are at because we thought surely it wouldn't get this bad. Like someone would stop it. The reality is that we are the solution. That's the reality. We are the solution to the problem. And it's going to, whatever is going to happen is going to, like, what is necessary to make the change happen is what's going to happen. So, like, if we decided today that enough is enough, like, this is it, shit has to change, and we have to do what it takes to make it change, then that would be all that would have to happen. Like, have you ever wondered what would happen? Because I have. I wonder what would happen if one day 60% of the workforce just stayed the fuck home for one day. What would happen? What if 60% of the workforce, just one day, because not everybody can afford to take the day, not everybody can afford to not work. But what if everybody just took a damn sick day and didn't buy shit? Yeah, I know there's something happening September 17th, which is my daddy's birthday. Janice, I have not seen Jin Yaya. But here's my thing. And let me just say this too, right? Here's what, in order for this to work, if you were even talking about a larger type of, if you were trying to do this, let me tell you what would be necessary. Okay. Here's what would be necessary. People would have to collaborate, and then people would have to have like local communities get together where people pool their resources in order to do it. I did get it. Thank you, Petal. But do you understand what I'm saying? People would have to work together and pool their resources, because the mother of four, right, is going to need something different than the single person with no bills, with no whatever. You see what I'm saying? So I hear us. So listen, I hear us when we say we're blacking out the system, and I hear us when we say we're all going to take a sick day. What I'm wondering is, have we put in the infrastructure to make that happen? You can't just say this is the day we're all going to do this if you don't put the infrastructure together to ensure that people can actually participate. And that's the part that I think is missing. Right. There has to be people that have the means, that are able to support the people that don't have the means. And like, if I'm being, this is where I get like real, when I really want to be calling people out and shit, right? So for me, I want to find the richest progressive people in each state, whether they are entertainers, whether they are CEOs, whether they are whatever, but the richest progressive people in each state. And then each of those people cough up $150,000, $250,000, if they got it like that. You understand what I'm saying? To cover the rest of people. I have no idea, Peacekeeper. I'm not on it. The only reason stuff posts to my Instagram is because it connects from my Facebook. Except for today. I did put something directly on Instagram today. I love people like this that pop up in here. Badger, come talk to me about the two-party system. Now, I want to tell you something, Badger. If you come up on my panel to talk to me about the two-party system being a fraud, I'm going to want to hear from you how you make a different, what's up, Raja? How you create something other than a two-party system, how that works in terms of the electorate, how that works in terms of voting and casting ballots and all of that. What I want you to give me, Badger, is an infrastructure and a system that can immediately be plugged in and replace the existing system that we have. If you don't have that, shut the fuck up. Salam, Raja. Habibi. I'm just tired of hearing people say the two-party system is a fraud. Okay, it might suck, but please tell me your solution. That's what I want you to do. And by the way, even with this two-party system, if the people were leading from compassion, if the people were doing our due diligence in terms of vetting our candidates and requiring the people in office to do our bidding, not the fucking corporations. If the people did it, it doesn't matter what the system is. It doesn't matter what the system is. Y'all, I could give you a 10-party system, and in the country that we have right now, it would not work. The people are the problem, not the fucking system. They want you to believe that the system is the problem, so you don't work on fixing the people. Y'all, Badger ain't getting their ass up here on this panel. I sent an invitation for them to get on the panel before I even said their names. It's open. Oh, shit. I thought I unlocked it. I must have gotten carried away. Hold on, y'all. Oh. All right. I'm coming. I thought I unlocked it, but I didn't. I unlocked it in my head. I thought about unlocking it. Hey, baby. You had a good day? What? Yes, I'm like, huh? You had what? You had a good day? Oh, in the library. Did you keep your book? Did you check your book back out? You kept it?
Yeah, I'm not done. It has 400 something pages.
I know. So this is the 8-year-old talking to me about her library book that has 400 something pages. Toxic empathy is something that Moms for Liberty is talking about, and it's bullshit. If you think there is such a thing as toxic empathy, that tells me that you don't know how to set boundaries and you need to go back and read your Bible some more. Girl, how are you asking me? I don't know. Somewhere over there. Nope.
I mean, on the car ride.
Yeah, that was Bella. Folks, listen, the system isn't perfect. No system will ever be. And here's the thing that's really important, okay? If we work on the people, the system will automatically change. So let me tell you something. You can change a system, but the people continue to do the same thing. When you change the system, when you change the people, the system automatically has to change. What you doing, girl? What you want? You want a snack?
Yep.
Okay. Do you want me to make you a sandwich? Okay. That's usually your thing. Yes, ma'am. Who, what? Go look in their bedroom. I don't know. Okay, so there are a couple. How do we change the people? So PE, we do it all the time in here with different conversations, right? So like today, if any of the people that had come in here chippity chipping with them mouths had been sincere in what they were saying and joined the panel, 8 times out of 10, I can get movement. I can move the needle with those people. What, baby? What happened?
At recess, I was playing with the ball and then I tripped over the ball. And
You tripped over the ball?
Yep.
And you got a boo-boo?
Yep.
Did they clean it out when they put the Band-Aid on it?
Yep.
Oh, girl, yeah, we're going to clean it out. They just put a Band-Aid on it. Yeah, I got you. I can do that. Love to ski. Not when they're real. Not when they're real. No, Jen, this is not Mila. This is Bella. Mila's the Moodle baby. Did Badger just say Jesus is fixing our country? Let me just say this. When you say Jesus is fixing our country, shame on you. Shame on you. That man already gave up his entire life, crawled on a cross, and died for your sins. And you think he's supposed to save the world that you created? Shame on you. How dare you ask Jesus to do anything else? Jesus has done it all. He said, here is the earth. I gave you dominion. So if there's something wrong with the earth, it ain't Jesus's problem to fix. It's yours. It's ours. Jesus said, listen, I already got up on a cross. I ain't doing nothing else. Listen, if I was God and I heard y'all saying that, or if I was Jesus and I heard y'all saying that, I'd be like, you hear what they saying? How if I was Jesus, I'd be like, they need to keep my name out their mouth. That's what I would be like. If I was Jesus, I'd be like, nah, keep my name out your mouth. 100%. Just saying. Because apparently we haven't learned anything. Y'all, listen, if we had learned the lesson, we would fix it ourselves. Why should Jesus refix something while we tear it up again? Because we haven't learned our lesson. We haven't learned that compassion is the highest form of love, and that when we lead with that, we get what we desire. Right? Just saying. Yeah, baby, I got you. All right, so listen, people. It has been 3 hours that we have been together today. We will be on again later. Today is one of those days where I do have a hard stop because the girls are coming. I need to get stuff together, and your girl has therapy. Salam, Mohammed. I hope A-Money or somebody can let Mohammed know that I'm going to be back and go live later. I just can't do it right now. So listen, the book is coming out. When I come back, we will be talking about, Shantae, you got me? Let Mohammed know I'll be back later. Okay. Girls, Shanna, we still don't know what time Deborah's getting off. We still don't know. But we still have a lot more to talk about. Okay. We have to talk about a couple of the other things thanks, Denise. I appreciate that. We still have some other things that I have pulled up that we need to talk about today. So, and let me just kind of give you like a little bit of an overview as to what some of those things are. I do want to talk more in depth about Poland. Right. Deborah ain't never getting off. I also want to talk about, oh my gosh. Well, I didn't even know about this one yet. I'll get there. Oh, that just makes me whatever. Sorry, hold on. So yeah, we have to talk about Poland. We have to talk about Qatar. We have to talk about the latest, right, Deborah catching strays at this point, and the latest in France and in Gaza, 100%. So I appreciate you all greatly. Love you much. Please make sure that you're following everywhere and that you are listening to the podcast episodes. The Danny Cook Show is the podcast. What time later? Oh my gosh. Yeah, if you go to YouTube, you can watch YouTube or Facebook. You can watch this entire live. And happy birthday. There was something somebody else said that I was going to say, and I can't remember. What time later? I always say like 8:39, but sometimes with the girls, it's a struggle for me to get here at that time. So maybe 9:30-ish. I know that's late, folks, but it just kind of is what it is. So Love you, mean it. And I will see you all later. Okay. Appreciate you all very much.